Hey guys, Darren Carr here, coach of Wise Ocean Pods, and welcome back to another episode of my team review. Post round 5, gather round was a good weekend of footy here in Adelaide. So yeah, it was always very nice to have the festive season going on through the weekend. So that was very nice, awesome weekend overall. We got to meet a lot of the content creators in the country, so that was awesome to see and awesome to meet a lot of those nice blokes. They're all amazing. So yeah, good to meet them all, and got to meet a few of you guys as well, which is always a nice positive to see. What I'm doing is worthwhile in the fantasy community, so that's nice to see. But what I'm about to show you in my team is not pretty at all. I had one of the worst rounds I can imagine I've had in a very long time, even worse than what I had last week. So prepare yourself because it doesn't get much worse than what I produced on the weekend. And I was one of those poor souls that, was swimming naked pretty much. Tide went out, best 18 out of the door, and I was, tide went out. My junk was hanging out. The paparazzi took cameras and they were blackmailing me all weekend, and this is just how my weekend was going. They were just hammering me, hammer and tong all weekend. I scored an 1908, which is probably 200 points off par, I would say. So very, very shocking week. Round make of 52k. So that is, I didn't even know numbers went that high sometimes. So yeah, that was shocking. And my overall rank dropped by about 9,000 to 10,000. So all the good work done in the early season just undone instantly in one round. But it is not over. It is a long season ahead. So we'll continue to push, continue to keep moving, improving our team. But let's go all the way back to Thursday night because I knew I was on for a shocker as soon as Thursday night game was done. It was Crows v Geelong. I had quite a few players in here, Dawson, Saligo, Rankin. And, Rankin, I was concerned about with him with his injury coming into it. I was like, oh, he's going to be laid out. Who am I going to have to cover with? I only had really Stone that was going to be worthwhile. Worthwhile going to be my cover because I didn't really have anyone else. Just because Closey was the sub on that night, and I knew Joe Berry was most likely going to be the sub again this week. So I wasn't super confident with that, so I was a bit scrambling what was going to happen if that happened. But luckily he did play, and luckily did put up a very nice score. Saved it quite late in that last quarter with a huge 50-point last quarter to put up a 107 and was the top scorer of the night in my side. So did even better than Bailey Smith. But my midfield is where it struggled. Dawson, I was tossing up whether I go the VC on Dawson or Saligo. I did go Saligo in the end, just for a bit of point of difference. I thought it was the game that he was going to go well. I looked back in all the history of the last couple of weeks where, the main midfielder is always getting a lot of attention, so Dawson would get a lot of attention. And that would just mean Saligo would be able to run around, get the ball, and do what he does best, and just get the pill, get plenty of tackles, and just do what he liked. But he just was so off in that game. He just didn't look interested at all. Looked seconds, always second to the ball. Just horrible. And yeah, I got sucked into picking him again, and he's put up a 92 and a 52. For me, he's now averaging 72 in my side. He just does not like me, obviously. And now he comes up against a harder opponent in GWS, so I'm sure it's not going to go well again. But I'm just going to hold him through. It is what it is now. I've selected him, so I'm just going to back him in and continue to prove my side around him as best I can. It's probably going to mean I'm lose points every single week in that position because I probably lost 50 points or so in that position alone this week. So not a great start. Dawson 92 is okay, but yeah, anyone that had him as a VC would have been very underwhelmed and yeah, would have had to back in their C. And that probably leads me into sort of Saturday afternoon. I backed in Tom DeConing as my captain. And again, just didn't look interested at all. Second week in a row, I've VC'd him and I've C'd him in 2 weeks in a row now. And he's put up two shocking scores, after starting the season so well. Just clearly doesn't like me either. I can't trust him with the C anymore. And yeah, I don't think I'll be trusting him for a long time now, especially with Worldwide potentially coming back into the side. That's a big thing that we'll have to talk about in this week, as they've mentioned that they're most likely going to bring him in so that he may have to go, but we'll see how that sort of pans out. But a 75 as a captain is shocking and definitely one of the worst I've had in a little while. I think 71 from Gorn last year was my only worst score from a captain in a long time. So, and that was an injured score as well. So can't really fault him for that. But a 75 in a very, very easy matchup is very disappointing. And I know a few coaches got stuck with it, but if you didn't and you got a decent captain score, then congrats, because there wasn't many around this weekend. You know, it was a very tight weekend for captains for sure. And looking at my team, you know, I only had one person that went over 110, and that was Connor Rosie. And I was never thinking about putting the VC on him or the C on him because he was up against Hawthorn. You know, a tough matchup supposedly, and yeah, he just absolutely ran over them, and my boys just didn't get up either for that game. I was at the ground, and yeah, it was a very hard game to watch, unfortunately. But yeah, I don't really know where to start with this team. You know, it's really poor at the moment. Rangini Malera relied on 3 goals to get to 102. That's definitely not something I want to see. Just didn't get any marks in that game, and his role is shifting a fair bit, and that is a bit frightening. But you know, he's a premium. I'm not gonna trade him out for that. So I hope he can just continue his good form. And obviously Sinclair's just outperforming him at this stage. So that was a bit of a missed opportunity to go with Sinclair. I was pretty hot on him in the preseason, so that's a bit of a miss. Jaden Short's just getting it done, just doing quite nicely, just quietly, you know, averaging 94. That's still 14 points above where he was priced at the start of the year, so that's a nice pick. Everyone's got him, so it's not really a unique thing. Robert's just getting it done, not doing anything amazing, but he's just, you know, being there at the moment. He can probably be someone that we can move off at some stage, because he's not nearly at the top 6 defenders, but he's also not a priority jump off. But if you're in that luxury position and maybe you can't jump off of 2 rookies and get to a better player, then maybe he can be the one that goes and gets you up to that premium that's maybe underpriced, like Holmes at the moment. Also in that Hawthorn game, I did have Miles Bergman, and this was just a final nail in my coffin for the weekend. You know, I needed him to sort of save my weekend. I needed a big score from him, and subbed out at half time with a bit of a knee knock, and potentially is going to be a trade out depending on how long he's out for. I'm not currently sure how long he's out for. I haven't really got too much of an update there, but fingers crossed he might be okay for this weekend, and I can potentially hold, because luckily he didn't drop too much in cash, because he did have quite a low break even after a couple of good scores back to back. So luckily there, but his break even has shot up again to 89. But yeah, just another one that just didn't go well my way, so it's unfortunate. One thing that did go my way, I did put Sam De Koning on the bench, as I said, and I did run Zach Reed, so that did pay off, and I did get 34 points additional from that. But Luke Trainer as well, 90. Didn't expect him to do that, but he is quietly just becoming one that we can probably trust on field a lot more now. You know, his lowest was a 33 back against Port, which is a very restricted matchup, but he's also got quite a couple decent matchups coming, so maybe he's someone that we can put on field for a solid 60, if not 70, 80, popping up. So he seems pretty consistent back there, getting plenty of marks, receiving a lot of kick-ins as well, so yeah, awesome to see, and maybe needs a bit of a restructure. The midfielders are pretty shocking, you know, Dawson, Saliga, already mentioned them. Rosie, good to see him pop up. But that halfback role, I'm not sure how consistent that's going to be, but he looked like he was thriving in that. He was intercepting and taking kick-ins as well, so that was a big surprise in that game. I think it's good for better, you know. We love someone that can play a bit of midfield, bit of a halfback at the same time, and I do think that sort of suits him in his sort of body structure and his running and dashing, so I like it, and hopefully he can continue his scoring ways. Oliver did what he needed to do. He's not an issue at this point in time, but everyone has him. I did trade in Ryan Marrick for his 74, so happy with that. He probably could have been a bit bigger. He went a bit quiet in one of the quarters, and again, probably didn't get the marks around the ground as what I'd probably expect to see him from. But again, yeah, he's just generating a huge amount of cash. Still low break even at the moment of 25, went up 52k on the weekend, so cash generation's not looking too bad, but it is starting to dry up. You know, my team value is 20.5 with 400k in the bank, so it's about 21.9, I think it is. Yeah, I'll check after anyways. But then my rookies on the in the midfield is where I got caught lacking all weekend. Just people that were probably structured up a lot better than I was. Where I have 6 rookies on field this weekend, or could have had 5, but I had 6. where a lot of other people would have had a lot less than that, and that's where it really hurt me. 240s, Lindsay 49 was disappointing on return. A lot of management minutes. I'm backing him in to continue to go well from now on. Even though the role didn't look great, he was purely just wing and didn't really get amongst it as much. Wasn't getting inside as what we normally expect. No tackles is a bit of a telltale sign that he's wasn't really getting amongst it in the stoppages as we pretty much used to. Averaged 6 in his first 2 games before his injury. So there is a bit of a role shift, but pretty good matchups in the next 3 weeks. So I'm backing him into continue to generate some cash and put up some decent scores on the field for me potentially. Murphy Reed was the disappointment though. Against Richmond, I expected a lot better. Just did not get involved whatsoever. Looked tired. Probably is due for a rest, so I wouldn't be surprised if he makes his way out of the team this weekend. But yeah, he just looked super tired. Luckily, kicked a goal to sort of save his score. Missed 2 as well. Just yeah, overall pretty poor. And yeah, my bench wouldn't have saved it anyway. The midfield rookies aren't scoring as well as what I expect them to. My rucks also very poor. Cherry 73 again, just super poor. Just not getting it done at the moment. Not getting his tackles. Like 6 tackles on the weekend was alright, but you expect more. Not getting as many touches. 9 touches is probably his lowest tally in a long time. Good amount of hit-outs for what I'd expect against Wits. But yeah, the free kicks against also really hurts. 9 points less. But yeah, he's just one I'm just going to close my eyes and just hope he turns it around because I have bigger and more important things to do than deal with him and trade him out. Again, I'm not losing the cash if I don't trade him out. And I'm just going to back him to return to form at some stage. Hopefully in the coming weeks. It'll be interesting to see how he goes against this week if Pitnet comes back into the side because that can be a bit of a tough matchup. Then also a couple of tougher matchups to come against Sweet, who is the toughest matchup in the league at the moment, and then obviously the dual ruck setup of Essendon, even though Nick Bryan is injured and confirmed ACL. So be interesting to see if they bring in a second ruckman, which I'd expect them to. So be interesting there. And then obviously Riley. What's his name? I always forget his name. I don't know how I do this. McInerney, that's the one. Yeah, that's a tough matchup as well. So, couple tougher matchups still to come in the next 4 weeks, but then it does start to open up from there. So, it's going to be a long, tough hold, but yeah, I'm sticking with it. Tom de Koning, as I said, 70, 75, just looks a bit undone and looks disinterested. So, be interesting what happens with him. Again, I think he might be a priority trade out come this weekend if Pitnet comes into the side. So, I've made my plans to do that, and I'll show you that soon. Jack McRae, another 50 in my team from someone I didn't expect, but he just got tagged from Bedford in that game and just didn't want to get the ball and didn't spread for the marks as we're sort of used to. Did well to get tackles, just, yeah, not much else. So disappointing for him, but everyone has him. Same with Bailey Smith and Cab Daniel. They did enough. Horn Francis did well to put up 100 in a slow start to that game. I think he was on 8 points at the quarter time. And yeah, racked up after that and got the win over there. So good to see him, put 2 good scores together in, a tougher matchup on the weekend. See how he goes against Sydney, and probably could be a decent trade in if you're looking for another forward option, because he's probably not going to get too much cheaper. As I said last week, went up to 19k, low break even. But he could definitely drop a stinky 60 at any stage. So it's going to be a bit of a roller coaster, and then he may not be top 6 forward anymore, with a lot of DPP action, which I'm sure you're all aware of. Sam Davidson luckily put up a 59 and probably was the sponge of the week. It's not to steal that from the Ball Boys, but I do agree that that goal on the goal line, just little touch on the goal line just to get that goal, the +9 for him, was awesome to see, and that's what we love to see from our fantasy players. So Merrick got it last week, he can get it this week, and yeah, awesome to see. Besides that, my bench is really drying up with cash generation at the moment and is probably a bit of a priority to start moving. But reviewing my trades from last week, I was happy to move off Joel Frazier. He put up another 60 and dropped a fair bit of coin, 22k. So glad to see him gone to Bryce. And then O'Driscoll needed to go with the injury to Merrick. So overall, my trades are pretty good. It made 175k roughly. So good, but then the score wasn't really worthwhile in the end. So hopefully for a big bounce back week. But what am I looking at doing this week? So you can see I've already traded in Nick Dacos. I think is the one to grab this week. And I have done a bit of a shuffle with the whole DPP actions at the moment. So I am looking to field the 3 rookies on my defensive line at the moment with Trainer, Bryce, and Reed. All have pretty good matchups. Trainer with the Suns should be pretty fruitful. Bryce, I think he's just a lock even against Port Adelaide. He seems like he's just going to a safe 70 most weeks, and I think everyone has him on field anyway, so I'm trusting him there. And Reed seems like he's also a pretty safe 60 back there against West Coast, should be okay as well. So trusting those guys, and I've moved O'Sullivan and Connor Stone into the defensive line bench just to sit there and slowly generate cash as they are doing, slowly, very slowly. But I have traded in Nick Dacos, and that was for the expense of Sam De Koning, so that's the only move I've done so far, and it did cost me 300k, so I do still have 100k in the bank. And like I said, my team value is about 21.5, so not amazing, but still not too bad at the end of the day. Definitely could do a little bit better. But definitely running a little bit deeper in my midfield now with him in there and a bit of movement. Obviously, move Bergman into my midfield. That will be interesting to see if he gets up for the game. He could then be traded out to another player, but I don't have enough to get up to the top guys, so I'd have to play around with that middling price again, which is not giving me a huge amount of confidence at the moment. But if not and he plays, then either my options is either Tom De Koning out, and that would probably be to Kieran Briggs. I just liked what I saw on the weekend. He's bottomed out in price, and I'm just going to bank that cash generation. Hopefully he gets 150k over the next sort of month, and his run natural is pretty good as well. So yeah, he should go pretty well. English pretty easy. Brody Grundy's a neutral matchup. Obviously, Sam De Koning is an easy matchup. Stanley is a bit tougher, but we'll see how happens there. Luke Jackson and Sean Darcy will be an interesting one. See how they sort of combine back together soon. And obviously, Tom De Koning as well. So, yeah, pretty good run just for the next sort of month. So I probably can hold him to the mid-season buys and then trade him out from there. If not, round 13 at the latest, I would have thought. That's when the run starts to become a bit harder, and he may drop a bit of coin. I'm just not super keen on Marshall at the moment. He dropped a pretty stinky score on the weekend, just a 70 against Briggs. He just doesn't look quite fit at the moment. Was on track for a decent score at half time, but just not getting there in the end. So he is well down, and I just don't know if I'm trusting him just yet. I could go to a Gorn. I did look at that as well. He's obviously got a pretty fruitful matchups coming. Sean Darcy pretty easy, then Nank and Bailey Williams, probably 2 best matchups you can ask for. Lloyd Meek is also pretty easy as well, so pretty good next 4 weeks. So I don't mind him there. Just trusting him to be a top 2 ruckman for the year potentially. So, but I think I'll just like Briggs at the moment. I think I'm just banking that cash, banking an extra 345k to go into next week, and then that means I can get another upgrade, maybe from 2 rookies. Culling 2 rookies from maybe a Murphy Reed goes that week, and maybe a Lindsay, if he doesn't pop up a decent score, he could go as well. So that would give me 900k between them, or close to a mil, plus the extra 300k to then upgrade pretty majorly. So that's my thought process. But if Tom De Koning doesn't need to go this week because he's playing properly, he's playing by himself again, then I'll probably just do a rookie fix up, getting off Joe Barry, who has been losing a bit of money last couple of weeks with his subs in the last 2, which is unfortunate. And then probably just grabbing the likes of Gross or something like that, who I do think is the better rookie to grab this week, and leaving me 153k to go into next week, which probably isn't enough to get an upgrade next week from 2 rookies, but we'll have to see what happens there. So still plenty to play out, but yeah, that's sort of what I'm thinking of doing this week. I'm sure a lot of people are thinking of doing the same. In terms of Nick Dacos, I have just slapped him in there without even really thinking about it, to be honest, just because I think he's one that he's cheap, and we might as well grab him. This is sort of the time I've been waiting for. Obviously the tag didn't really happen too much, and he just didn't care about it. So that's a positive sign to see that he's overcoming these tags a little bit more. So hopefully we can see a bit more consistency from him. But the run also isn't the greatest in terms of his matchups, and there's still potential tags coming, but I'm just going to block him in and just run with it. I know there's probably other better options that I could grab, particularly up the top end. I could pay up for a merit, and I did advise some people to do that last week. But with where my team is, I just need to maximize the cash that I have and just continue to upgrade my team week on week to see if I can try and close the gap and catch up towards the back end of the season, because I'm nowhere near it at the moment. As much as I would love to have a Zach Merritt and just trust him to be a great pick for the rest of the year, which I'm sure he will be, I just don't think I'm willing to pay up the 118 price tag that he is at the moment for it. So not going to shop there. Could also grab, a Brayshaw, who everyone grabbed sort of last week, but then I'm sort of playing one man behind. Walsh was also one I was pretty hot on last week. It seemed like everyone that I wanted to grab went well, I just couldn't grab any of them. So, yeah, just one step off the pace at the moment, which is a bit unfortunate, but hopefully I can reset this week and attack from next week onwards. So, yeah, same with Max Holmes. I was pretty hot on him a couple weeks ago. Dropped a stinky sort of tag score. It'll be interesting to see how he goes against Hawthorn in a tight Easter Monday clash. Whether he gets a bit of attention will be to be seen. But that's my team. It didn't go well. Didn't go my way on the weekend. Hopefully you went a lot better, and I'm sure you bloody did. But yeah, this is how I'm sort of running at the moment. Obviously, one more trade to go. It's one thing I probably should mention is the flexibility is very nice with the DPPs. The forwards getting 3 massive inclusions in Petrarca, Chad Warner, and Nick Martin into the forward line definitely shakes up a few things, and probably doesn't pay in my favour a little bit. Play in my favour, not pay. Just because I already probably have 5 guys that I expected to be top of the line, but now they're probably, at least 2 of them may not be. So yeah, maybe the structure I started the season with probably hasn't paid off in that sense, just because now we've got 3 massive inclusions that all probably put their hand up to be in that inclusion, particularly Petrarca, Chad Warner, if he can get back to his best form and probably play a bit more midfield, would definitely be a worthwhile consideration. He can average a 95 pretty simply, and that would put him definitely in the calculations. And obviously Petrarca, a bit down at the moment, but he would, if he can get back to his best and go back to the midfield, we've seen him average 105 in that role before. So be interesting to see how that sort of eventuates over the season. But Petrarca's still not a bad option if you're looking to trade in. I mean, he's not probably value at this stage, but keep an eye on him. If he does get too cheap, he could be a very good option to grab a hold of. But I do think Horn-France is probably the one at the moment with his cheaper price tag. What else can I say? I guess the main priority this week is, if you don't have any major trade outs, obviously Sam De Koning, if you still have him, he's definitely the one to go. If you have any, obviously, injuries from last week, O'Driscoll, they need to go. Besides that, it's upgrade rookie season. Jump off these rookies that are starting to run out of cash generation. Murphy Reid, break even of 42. He can probably go, but he does have Melbourne this week, so could put up a decent score. If you need him on field, I will probably be looping him at this stage. I've got Ted Closey there, who plays on the Monday night, who I expect won't be playing. So I'll be how to loop in my forward or midfield line between, Lindsay, Ashcroft, Sam Davidson, and Murphy Reid, sort of those guys. Obviously being mindful that Ashcroft does play on the Thursday night, so if you want to lock him away, just go ahead and do it. But there's no guarantee that he'll put up a decent score. But he's been pretty solid all season, so I wouldn't be too phased about just backing him in. I haven't really looked at captains this just yet, but looking probably at the VC on Nick Dacos. But we'll get into all that sort of good stuff later on in the week when I do my trade mode and my captains video later on. But hopefully you guys have enjoyed the weekend, and hopefully your team went much better than I did. Please leave a like, subscribe. I'm nearly at 1,000 subscribers. I think before this video I was at 999. So someone please click that subscribe button. I really want that 1,000 subscribers. That would be awesome. So besides that, have a good week, and I'll catch you. Sorry, not a good weekend. Have a good night, and I'll catch you for Wednesday's trade mode. Talk to you then. Bye.